this video, I'm going to give a brief introduction to thought groups, which are an essential part of spoken speech. We'll talk a little bit about the characteristics of thought groups, how to choose them, how to convey meaning with them, and some resources for practicing. So what are thought groups? Thought groups are groups of words which are marked by pauses in between. So for example, now, as a student of anti-discrimination law, as a feminist, as an anti-racist, I was struck by this case. Usually in this class, we will also be marking thought groups using this forward slash. Thought groups are essential to listener comprehension, and the pauses are also essential. And there's two primary reasons for that. If you have too many thought groups, so if you pause in between every single word, your speech can sound disjointed or robotic. If you have too few thought groups, so you speak without any pauses or taking a breath ever and you just have a constant stream of unbroken speech, it can be very difficult for your listener to follow or comprehend what you're saying. In general, when choosing thought groups, you can choose where you pause. So oftentimes, for a given sample of speech, there are multiple correct ways to say it or appropriate ways to say it. So here's one example. Now, communication experts tell us that when facts do not fit with the available frames, people have a difficult time incorporating new facts into their way of thinking about a problem. This is the correct way of saying this, but there are other ways that it could be said. For example, now communication experts tell us that when facts do not fit with the available frames, people have a difficult time incorporating new facts into their way of thinking. Sometimes, though, there are ways of choosing thought groups that would be detrimental or somewhat confusing. So in general, you want to avoid dividing up grammatically connected words. Here's an example. Now, communications experts tell us that when facts do not fit with the available frames, people have a difficult time incorporating new facts into their way of thinking. For example, the phrase do not fit is grammatically connected, and so dividing it up ends up sounding confusing. So you want to be careful to avoid this. Sometimes, although this is not very common, thought groups can change meaning. So for example, 4 hour-long exams means that you have 4 individual exams and each exam is 1 hour long. 4 hour-long exams means that there are many exams and each of the exams is 4 hours long. So you can see that sometimes thought group placement can actually change what your meaning is, and you need to be careful to choose whatever it is that matches what you're trying to say. In general, if you're looking to practice thought groups, my first recommendation would be that you find a recording of someone who has clear speech. And then you listen to that recording with a transcript and you mark on the transcript where that person pauses. After you've marked up where the person pauses and where they put thought groups, you can then actually practice with this transcript. If you need some resources for where you can find good recordings that already include transcriptions, there are 2 that I would recommend. If you're looking at trying to practice more formal academic speech, I would recommend TED Talks. If you're looking to practice more informal speech, such as dialogues, I would recommend StoryCorps. Both of these are freely available to you and have a wide variety of speakers on different topics, and their recordings all include transcripts that you can use as you're practicing thought groups. So some important things to remember: thought groups are groups of words that go together. They help with listener comprehension, and it's a good idea to use recordings with transcripts when you're practicing them.